Good morning, students. We are going to continue with chapter 2 of NCERT, that is sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Students, we have learned process of megagametogenesis and microgametogenesis in our previous presentations. Now, it's time to learn about the process of pollination, which is essential for sexual reproduction in angiosperms. So let's continue with the presentation. Topics which are being covered in this tutorial are pollination, types of pollination, and finally the agents of pollination. What is pollination? It refers to the process of transfer of pollen grains from anther and their deposition over the stigma of the pistil for the process of fertilization is referred as pollination. Basically, pollination is of two types, self-pollination and cross-pollination. Now, let's understand both of the pollination with the help of diagram. As you can see, in first diagram, the pollens are being released and land over the stigma of the same flower. This type of pollination is termed as self-pollination. However, in second diagram, you can see that pollen of one flower are going to be land on the stigma of another flower. This type of pollination is referred as cross-pollination because two flowers are going to be involved in this process. On the basis of source of pollen grains, pollination is of three types, that is autogamy, zytonogamy, and xenogamy. Autogamy is further divided into three categories, that is homogamy, calistogamy, and bud pollination. First of all, we have to understand the basic difference between the three categories of pollination, that is autogamy, zytonogamy, and xenogamy. What is autogamy? When pollens of one flower going to land over the stigma of the same flower. This type of pollination is referred as autogamy and it is similar to self-pollination. It occurs in pea, rice and wheat. As you can see, the pollen as well as eggs belong to the same flower, so there will be no genetic variability in the future seed, so it do not going to bring about any sort of genetic variability. Now move to geitonogamy. When pollens are going to be land on the stigma of another flower of same plant. Here, the pollen are going to land on the stigma of another flower but of same plant. As in case of cucurbids, it is functionally referred as cross-pollination, but it also do not bring about any sort of genetic variability in future seeds. So there will be genetic similar seed same to that of the parent one. Now come to the xenogamy, which is also referred as allogamy. It refers to the transfer of pollen grains from anther of one flower to the stigma of another flower of different plant. That is very, very important. The male flower are going to be produced on one plant. However, the female flower is going to be produced on the another plant. The examples are papaya and maize. It ensures genetic variability in the future seeds. This is the type of pollination which actually bring about any sort of genetic variability in future seeds. So this is very, very important. Now come to the categories of autogamy. First is homogamy. It occurs in chasmogamous or open flowers. As you can see, the examples being provided over here, all flowers are open, but it ensures self-pollination. How? The anthers are going to oriented in such a position that it reaches to the stigma of the same flower so that self-pollination can happen. It occurs in case of vinca, Potato, 4 o'clock, which is also referred as Mirabilis jalapa. Now comes to the calistogamy. In this, the flowers never ever open, and anthers and stigma lies in close association to ensure self-pollination. The calistogamous flowers produce a short seed set formation even in the absence of any sort of pollinator without pollinating agents. It occurs late in the flowering seasons, as the case of Viola oxalis and Commelina. These are going to produce both chasmogamous, that is open flower, as well as closed flower, as the case of Callistogamous flower. You can see in Viola both chasmogamous, that is open flower, are here, as well as Callistogamous, that is closed flower underneath of the soil, are being present. And these Callistogamous flowers ensures total self pollination without any pollinator. In this case, the seeds are going to be formed even in the absence of pollinator. And this is the diagram from the book. Here also you can see the open flower. These are chasmogamous flower, as well as closed flower, callistogamous flowers. Now move to the third category, that is bud pollination. As the word suggests, the fertilization or pollination event actually happens even before the bud is going to be open as a form of flower. Anthers and stigma of the bisexual flower ripen before and the opening of the floral bud. Thus, self-pollination takes place as a rule. So, self-pollination is totally unavoidable in this case. Examples are Poaceae family, that is rice and wheat, and Fabaceae family, that is pea. Now, devices which ensure self pollination. These are callistogamous flowers, that is closed flowers, and homogamy. It occurs in chasmogamous flowers, and finally, the bud pollination, where the pollination occur into the bud stage before opening of the bud to the flower. Now comes to the devices for cross pollination or outbreeding. First device is decliny or unisexuality. Male and female flowers are quite separate and being produced on the different plants, as the case of dioecious in papaya. Dichogamy. This is very very important. It is a condition in which stamens and stigma of the bisexual flowers are going to be mature at different times. It is of two types, that is protoandry and protogyny. As the word suggests, protoandry is that kind of situation when the anthers are going to be mature earlier than that of the stigma. And the next category is protogyny. This is the condition where the stigma matures earlier than that of anther. Another method is self-sterility or self-incompatibility. When pollens which are being released from the flower is totally unacceptable because of some incompatible factors being present over the stigma of the same flower, which ensures cross-pollination. Sometimes sterile genes are being present, which ensures self compatibility and ultimately bring about cross pollination. Now comes to the chesmocamus flower. As we have seen, these are open flowers and welcome any sort of pollens which are quite compatible for the species concerned. Now come to the devices of cross pollination, outbreeding, that is very very important, that is production of unisexual flower. It both male and female flowers are present on the same plant, that is castor and maize, that is monoecious condition. It prevents any sort of autogamy, but it do not prevent zytonogamy. Okay, because both male and female flowers are going to be present on the same plant. Now come to the dioecious condition, where male and female flowers are going to be present on the different plants. This completely ensures xenogamy, and prevent both autogamy as well as zytonogamy. Now comes to the agents of pollination. Basically, there are two types of pollinating agents, that is abiotic and biotic. Abiotic agents are the environmental factors. However, biotic components are the organisms. In abiotic, there are further two category. When pollinating agent is wind, the case is referred as anemophily. When pollinating agent is water, the case is referred as hydrophily. When pollination is going to be brought by insects, it is referred as entomophily. And in case of birds, it is bats, it is referred as chiropterophily. And in case of birds, it is referred as ornithophily. This is very, very important. When the pollinating agents are the bird, the case is referred as ornithophily. Now comes to the adaptation for water pollination. As you know, pollination by the water is referred as hydrophily. It is being observed into the lower phyla of the plant kingdom. That is algae, bryophytes, pteridophytes, and some of the angiosperms. Pollens are being protected by some sort of mucilaginous coating which prevent any sort of desiccation by water. As you know, there is no sort of insects being involved. The flowers are quite dull and do not produce any sort of nectar. As in case of Vallisneria and Hydrilla, these plants are totally submerged. However, in Vallisneria, the stalk, that is a style as well as stigma, come on the surface of the water to receive pollens by water current. This is very, very important part, that pollens derive over that of the surface to receive on the stigma. This is very, very important point. However, in case of Jostera, these are submerged plant. The pollens are going to be released inside that of the water and reaches to the stigma by the water, completely water as a medium. Now comes to the adaptation for wind pollination. When pollinating agent is wind, it is referred as anemophily. The pollens need to be lightweighted, non-sticky, and in case of pinus, these are the winged one. Stamens are well exposed for easy dispersal of pollen grains in the wind, and sometimes stigma is quite sticky, large, and feathery to attract pollen grains into the air, as in case of tassels and corn cob. Numerous flowers are being bunched together in single inflorescence. Single ovule is being produced in the ovary. And again, insects are not being involved. The flowers are not going to produce any sort of nectar. Now comes to the adaptation for insect pollination. As you know, when the insects like honeybee or wasp, when these are the pollinating agent, the pollination is referred as entomophily. The flowers are large, sticky, and brightly colored to attract all sort of insects towards it. Sometimes they are going to secrete fall nectar into that of the environment to attract insects. And what kind of reward insects actually get by acting as a pollinating agent? That is nectar. One is nectar, and second is to provide safe place for laying eggs, as in case of Amorphophilus. Amorphophilus is 6 feet flower, and it's going to provide safe place for some of the species of the insects to lay eggs. And ultimately, some of the species like honeybee going to extract nectar for the food preparation. In case of yucca and moth, they show symbiotic association. Their life cycle cannot be completed without each other, as yucca going to provide safe place for laying egg of the moth, and moth is going to act as a pollinating agent in turn. That's all for today. Thank you, students.